Alrighty, guys, hold on one quick second because I got to do something with Facebook. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, well, give me one more second, y'all. Those of you guys who can see me and hear me, I'm going to be official in an official capacity real quick, but I need to first do some stuff with Facebook. I am simulcasting, just so you know. And whenever you simulcast, because hold on, give me one more second. That's why you're hearing the feedback. But whenever you simulcast using StreamYard, it does not allow you to tag people. So I'm trying to tag people right now. So y'all give me a quick second and I am going to get started with today's show. So say hello as you all are coming on and coming in. Please say hello. It's been a minute since hey Miss Ovita, you definitely stay, ma'am. I am trying to get situated, y'all. I got a whole new concept. Well, I ain't gonna say new, but I'm sharing. So y'all be here, okay? How about that? Y'all just stay here for a minute. And I'm trying to remember everybody to tag, and it's kind of hard to remember because yeah, it's been a minute. But hold on, y'all, hold on one second. Um, I don't know why I'm just drawing a huge blank right now. I'm drawing a huge blank. Give me a second. But y'all please stay on. Stay on. Give me a second. Why is that not here? Why is that not an option? Y'all stay on. Stay with me. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Hold on. Mm-hmm. 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 There we go. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and I'm here, but I'm gonna officially come back. So hopefully now that this is on, let me go to Instagram real quick and let's do this. Okay, so we are live here, live there. Oh, y'all, this is so much more than a notion. But all right, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you all are tuning in to this broadcast. I am your international award-winning author, filmmaker, and empowerment specialist, Tennille M. Jackson. And right before I start the show today, I definitely have to. I cannot go further without acknowledging um, somebody who I knew, a friend of mine who passed away on yesterday. I knew her as Tammy, and her name is Tammy Holmes. She was someone that I got a chance to know because of, we were both inducted into, at the time it was called the Young Women Professional League, and she was just an incredible woman to know. And so I want to take a moment just to acknowledge her and acknowledge her past. And a lot of times, when celebrities die, it's all over the news. Everybody is talking about it all the time, right? And it made me feel good though to on Sunday, my timeline was lit up because she had passed away. And obviously, I'm not happy that she passed away, but it was just good to see and to know that people were yet talking about her, reminiscing, loving on her. And it speaks to the type of woman that she was. But I'm about to get started with this new podcast that is going to be called The Total Woman Experience. And I'll be back in 30 to tell you more about it. All righty, guys. So I'm actually gonna take my glasses off so the glare isn't there. But again, I am your international award-winning author, filmmaker, and empowerment specialist, Tennille M. Jackson. And I wanted to, first of all, welcome everybody to this podcast, The Total Woman Experience. Um, I was really, if I'm just being honest with you guys, I was wrestling with the name, if I wanted to call it The Total Woman Experience, if I wanted to call it I'm Every Woman. And I'll just kind of go into the premise of the show, what we'll be talking about. Don't know how long I'll be on today. But I definitely wanted to start coming back. Hey, Miss Shalonda. I wanted to start coming back on my page. So let me just kind of give you guys like a little background, because there is, for me, there's always a method to the madness, right? But again, if you are tuning in, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube, please feel free to say hello so that way I can speak back on Noon Vibe. You guys can also shout me out in the inbox. But I just want to appreciate everybody who is tuned in. And at the right before I came on, I gave a quick acknowledgement. A young lady that I know passed away on yesterday, Tammy Holmes, and it was very shocking to say the least. Tammy was only a couple years older than me, and so anytime death hits, then it makes you feel a certain way. But that is not necessarily the reason for this show, but it definitively goes into the notion that you want to make the most out of your time. Like, stop feeling like, I still got another 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. In other words, stop putting off for tomorrow what you can do today. Don't let it take some type of, sickness, illness. Don't let it take a worst case scenario for you to walk in your purpose. Like, if you do not know your purpose, then you want to start, if you are a believer, you want to start praying about it and asking God for revelation, get you a coach. Thank you so much, Alonda. My drummer, that is, whether you saw it, the young lady, that is my daughter, or the young man is my nephew, but thank you very much. But yeah, so if you guys, if you are yet to know what your purpose is, if you are still feeling like you're struggling, you're still feeling like, I don't know why I'm here. Like, that's one of the reasons for this show, and especially for my ladies, it's called the Total Woman Experience, because I am a woman. I believe that there are ways that women can relate to other women, regardless of what capacity you serve. If you all are familiar with me, I have an organization that's called I'm Glad to Be a Woman. And the tagline is, if you're a woman, you belong here, right? So with that organization, we don't care about your titles. It's not about race, color, creed. It's not about, political affiliations, religious affiliations. It's really just about being a support group for women. Why? Because I understood the fact that women need to be celebrated. I think women, we are very underappreciated. We very rarely do you have people that's just totally supporting you. And I think that it's time to change that, right? And so the purpose of this podcast and my goal is to come on Monday nights, right? So there are a couple, again, going back to what I was saying, with there being a method to the madness. So with my Educated and Empowered podcast, I am streaming exclusively. If you're on Facebook, you cannot find me on my profile page with that. Why? Because my goal is to get more people to start liking the page. So, quick shameless plug, if you have not already liked my Educated and Empowered pages, I got a Facebook page, YouTube page, an Instagram page, and a TikTok page for Educated and Empowered. You can find it, Educated and Empowered, the number 2. Please find and follow me there, right? So with that, it's, if you have, if you are looking to the concept of my business, Educated and Empowered, what it is that I do is I equip you with the information and inspiration to be your best self, right? And so me as a coach, I do the same thing, right? No matter whether it's through my business or my business as an entity or me personally, what I do is educate and empower. It just takes different forms. And so, in either case, the point is, I wanted to be able to start coming back live on my Facebook page, my profile page, but I did not want to do the exact same thing that I do through my business page. But I still, because what I do, and again, so this is all with the branding thing, right? Like not wanting to cut yourself too thin, you know how they say, what they say, cut your nose to spite your face. So not necessarily doing that, but still being a presence on my personal Facebook page, because there are a lot of people who are still learning about my business page. Thank you. Shalonda said, follow on all platforms. You won't be disappointed. And I appreciate that, because again, now let me say this, because I'm kind of all over the place, y'all, but I promise y'all we're gonna bring it all in. I have to do all the housekeeping stuff before I get into the meat of things, right? So y'all already know what that looks like. You go to a restaurant, most people don't just order entree. You got to get you an appetizer, get you a soup, a salad, some, buffalo wings or something like that, and then you get into the entree. So I'm building up. I won't keep you guys long, but my point is just that I understand that I've kind of been MIA a little bit on visual social medias. And I don't necessarily apologize about that, because there's been a lot of stuff going on in my life. Again, I've shared a lot of different things. Like in the last, let's just say this year, because we're already in the last month of 2025. And when I say this entire year, came in like a whirlwind. This entire year, from January 1st, my next to youngest daughter, her birthday is on January 1st. She's a New Year's baby. So from January 1st, I have not stopped. This year has been a constant whirlwind, but I will say this year was definitely more family oriented for me than many years. Like I'm a family oriented person, but it's really been required for me to be even more hands on this year. And so the time just has sped by, but it doesn't mean that my passion for other things has stopped. But one of the things I have learned in my, if we want to say, absence from social media, one of the things I've learned is that it's not always the season to do all things, right? Like once upon a time, hey, Miss Kyla, once upon a time, I thought that, okay. So I understand I'm a well-rounded person, okay? Meaning that I function in a lot of capacities. Know that, knew that, that's no secret. But where I was mistaken was thinking that it was necessary to operate in all of the capacities at the same time, or operate in all the capacities all the time. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, slash biggest lessons that I learned, right? Like if you are, now let me just go biblical real quick. There's a story in the Bible that talks about how God distributed talents. He gave some one, some two, some five, right? So if you believe yourself to be a multi-talented person, or in other words, you have multiple responsibilities, you wear multiple hats. I think one of the things, and maybe you guys have already figured it out, and I'm just, I'm late to the party, but for a long time, I didn't understand the importance, not the importance of balance, because I think that that's different too, right? I think that it is possible to operate in multiple facets and still be balanced. And I think that it is possible to operate in one facet and be balanced, right? So, being balanced simply means understanding that there should be a time and a place for everything you have on your plate. That was something I mastered a minute ago. So living a balanced life is something that I'm good at. And that's one of the reasons why people would always ask me, hey, Tania, how in the world do you do all that you do? Right. But what I'm talking about is learning that sometimes, like, the season is not for you to be doing everything. Sometimes it's not, and just because you don't operate in all of your gifts or all of your capacities, it doesn't mean that you no longer have the other gifts or the other capacities. And I'm hoping that makes sense, right? So let's just, so say if, again, like myself, I am a married mother of many. I am in ministry. And when we talk about ministry, I'm gonna break that down. So I operate in ministry. I'm learning again, being balanced and all of that stuff. So the point that I'm making is there are times when, okay, you will be able to function as a wife and a mother and a this and a that and a this and a that all at the same time, because that's what the season is calling for. But then there are going to be times where, okay, this season is for me to really focus more of my attention in this area of my life. And because there are only 24 hours in a day, then that means that, okay, the other areas have to be put on pause right now. And my point is that as women, most of us, I would venture to say 99% of women operate in multiple capacities. And by the time I finish this show, you're going to agree with me. You may disagree with me right now. You may say, well, all I am is just a wife, or I'm only a mother, or I'm only this or only that. Because the other thing that I've learned is that women, we undermine ourselves a lot, because what we will do is we will put that only and just attached to ourselves, right? Like we minimize, we belittle, we demean ourselves, not even realizing that we're putting these limitations and these negative words on ourselves, right? And it's not that the word only or just by itself is a bad word. However, it's the way in which we use it. And most of the time, what we do, again, we'll say, I'm only this, I'm just that. But here's the thing, there are going to be times in your life where you need to be able to focus all of your attention. So if it's only 24 hours in a day, and then you got something that's major in one particular area, in order to get the best from that area is going to need more time. So that might mean that, okay, for this season, whether this season is a day, a week, a month, or even a year, for this season, this is where I'm focusing my attention, my time, my energies. And so I say all of that to say 2024, that's what this has been for me. 2024 it has been, from a professional standpoint, it has been because I am an entrepreneur. I'm sorry for those of you, I don't want to assume that anybody knows me and understands what it is that I do. And hello to everybody that's listening to me on Noon Vibe. But I am and have been for over a decade. I am an entrepreneur, and I was in the literary world for over a decade. Award-winning author, publisher, bookstore owner, former bookstore owner. Now, like I did a lot of things helping independent authors, those who wanted to become an author. Like that's really where one of my areas of expertise lies, right? But then come April, I had this moment where it was like the Lord was putting me on pause and saying, hey, APS has had its season and it's run its course. And that was something that I really, I wasn't angry about, because again, I am a believer. I know God's voice. And so I trust him. Like this ain't the first rodeo we done went through. So I knew to be able to be on pause, because that's what he was saying to do. I knew that a shift was coming, because that was what he was saying. But at the moment, I didn't understand. Now, let me say this real quick. So I saw this video, this meme. And for those of you who watch The Big Bang Theory, I don't watch it, but I know of it. And so I think the guy's name is Sheldon. But the caption says, like, if God had, like, something like, if God wrote a transcript for your life, or if you were able to read your transcript for God's plan for your life, or something like that, right? So the point is, he's reading the page like, why? So he's reading through this supposed transcript of his life to, seeing how your life is going to unfold. And so he goes through a couple pages asking why. And then by the time he gets to that third page, like, oh, that's why, right? So the point that I'm making is that there are times where we may not understand why things are happening at the time that they're happening, but most of the time it ends up revealing itself. It might be days later, weeks later, months later, years later, right? Where you're like, oh, that's why it happened. And especially if it's the negative thing, if it's the hard thing, if it's the trying thing, because none of us would just choose the hard. We don't choose the hard. We don't choose the thing that makes us, frustrated. We don't choose the thing that makes us cry. We don't choose the thing that stresses us out. But these things come and they hit us anyway. And so we have to figure out how to work those things together. So, all of that said, y'all, is to really lay the foundation for the reason why I am coming to you with the Total Woman Experience, right? So on Mondays, my plans to be coming to you guys 7:30, something like that. And the point is we're gonna be talking about everything that matters to women. And it's not necessarily that I'm saying, hey, I am the coach and follow me, even though yes, obviously I will provide some of my experiences. I'm even thinking about opening up this show to have some women guests on, or something to that effect. So again, this is still in the very open beginning stages. I am sharing this. You guys can feel free to put in the comment section ideas that you may have, but I'm just giving you an overview, regardless of the specific logistics, but just the overview for what this show is intended to do. First of all, it's intended to be that safe space for women. Okay. So I don't care whether you're black, white, anything in between. I don't care if you are older, younger. I don't care if you're married, single. I don't care what you are. If you are a woman, then just like my organization, I'm glad to be a woman. This podcast, the Total Woman Experience, is for you. This is going to be your safe space. This is going to be the place where if you just need to be able to have something good and edifying to listen to, that you will be able to have that. This is going to be the platform where if you need some type of advice and maybe you don't want to actually ask the questions, but somebody talking about it already, so you can just tune in so you can get the information anonymously. This is going to be that for you, right? Because the concept is that we're going to talk about everything married, not in one show. Every week will be devoted to a different topic, but we'll talk about marriage. So even if you are not married, but you desire to be married, we'll delve into, like, so just think of as relationships, but we'll talk about marriage. We'll talk about motherhood, because baby, nobody can make us cry like our kids, good or bad. Good or bad. So whether you got the good cry because you're so proud of them because they graduated or they won this award, or you so mad at them because it's like, did I raise you? Like, where did you come from? Because you go through those trying times. So whether they are, toddlers, tweens, teens, adults, like, we're going to talk about all of that and just give you that. Because let me tell you, it is something about being a mother. And again, I don't care if you are a single mother or a married mother. When you are a mother raising these kids, baby, let me tell you, all the days you love them, you genuinely love them, you love them. But some of the days you like, I know. I know it had to be outside influence. I know it had to be because I know this is not. So we're going to have some of those talks, some of those shares, some of those laughs. And then when I say ministry, understand that yes, we will talk about spiritual ministry, right? Because I am a first lady, I am an evangelist. So from a spiritual perspective, we'll talk about that. But also understand when I say ministry, I mean it on a larger scale. When we talk about ministry, we mean your purpose. What is your purpose? What is your mission? For those of you who are entrepreneurs, what is it that you're doing within that walk of life, right? So that's what we mean when we talk about ministry, what it is that you are purposed to do. So many people, when they hear the word ministry, they only think church, they only think a worship experience, but there are so many different things that you do that is your ministry, that allows you to minister to others, right? And so that's what I mean when I say ministry. We'll talk about that. We'll also, excuse me, we'll also talk about mental health. Now, in months like December, where there are 5 Mondays, we're going to talk about mental health and me time. But in months where there are only 4 Mondays, we're going to kind of combine me time with mental health. No, they are not one and the same, but we'll figure out how to combine them because both of them are necessary, right? When we talk about mental health, like how are you doing? Are you stressed out? Are you frustrated? Like, are you showing up as the best version of yourself? And many times, if you're not, it's probably because your mental health is being affected. I just did a reel on yesterday to let you guys know that December is Seasonal Affective Disorder Awareness Month. It's also known as SAD, SAD. This is a real thing. There are millions of people who are affected by this mood disorder that pretty much shows up like depression, like grief, like sadness. And it typically affects more women and young people. Okay. So, that again, for my ladies, this is why I'm trying to talk to y'all because we got to be educated about what's going on with us. And so, there are a lot of people during fall and winter, they naturally get sadder. It's not just about, the fact that you lost somebody, like a traditional grieving, but a lot of times it's the literal fact that there is less light outside and it affects our mood inside. And so if you are that person or you know someone who is that person, then the concept is that now that you understand about this disorder, you're hearing about this, that you can act accordingly. You can understand that everybody around you isn't happy. So either you try to, show some compassion, give some grace, or at least extend some understanding because people are going through. Kyla says, I think this is great. We as women have so much on our plates and have to be strong. Girl, all the time. I would love to hear other women's experiences and share mine. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. What I believe that I want to do is open it up, even with Noon Vibe. For those of you who are on a visual platform, Noon Vibe is an audible podcast. It's a live podcasting platform that I've been a part of since before it was Noon Vibe, when it was once called Wisdom. And why I love this podcast and this platform is because I can go live, right? So when I was doing Spotify, and I'm thinking I may go back to start just uploading my episodes afterwards. But when I was doing it was once Anchor, and then Spotify bought out Anchor. But when I was doing that, you could only do it pre-recorded. So you record it and then you upload. But anybody that, again, if you know me, I prefer live versions of everything. What you see is what you get, mistakes and all, right? It don't give time for Perfect Patty to come in and try to, no, don't do that, no, don't do that. No, we rolling with the flow. Whatever it is, mistakes and all, we're gonna go, because at the end of the day, what's most important is that you get this information, right? And so I do want to, even like I say, extend it to the Noon Vibe audience, where I may allow there to be, and I would just have to figure out how that would work, because it's one thing to let the ladies or whomever take the microphone when I do my normal podcast. I do allow Noon Vibe listeners to come ask a quick question or give a quick comment. But it's like when you all who are watching me visually, if you guys can't see them, then the concept of them being a co-host. So we're still working that out. But I agree with you, Kyla, that I think that it would be great. And at the very least, what I do want to do is I want to offer women the opportunity to be sponsors of this show, right? So in the event that you have a product, a service, a business, whatever, and you want more people, specifically women, because this show is going to be specifically for women. Now, I can't stop the men from tuning in. And if I'm being honest, it might actually be good for men to tune in, because maybe, you know how and I think all my women to get this, whether you married or you just got significant other, you know how you can tell them the same thing 50, 11 times, but then, and they act like that you speaking a whole different language, but then one of their boys come in or they friends, or it could even be like a sibling or something. They come in, they say the exact same thing that you've been saying for 3 months. And then now all of a sudden in one sentence, they just snap and now they get it. I think that this podcast will do the same thing for men, right? I think that even though it is not purpose for men, I think that if men came in to watch and or listen to this podcast, I think it would give them a better understanding of women. So whether they're trying to understand their significant others, their sisters, their mothers, even their daughters, I think that it would help them because maybe the women can't say it, the ones that's directly connected to them, maybe they can't say it in a way, and maybe they would be able to hear it and receive it from somebody else. But this, just like with anything else, like I say, when we're talking about mental health, I need you ladies to understand that your mental health matters, right? We got to, because Kyla said something about how we have to be strong all the time. Let me tell you something, and somebody might disagree with me, but even that is a myth. We don't have to be strong all the time. Like, we have been trained to believe that we have to be strong all the time. But the fact of the matter is that everybody gets weak sometimes, and that's okay. The fact of the matter is that strong people need strong people, and that's okay. Every day, you don't naturally just feel like it. I was telling my youngest daughter that this morning. She was frustrated with me because I was making her go to school and she didn't want to go to school, and she just don't understand why. I can't understand that she just don't like school. And I told her, I said, baby, it's not that. I said, first of all, I want you to know and understand that I hear you. I honestly hear you. I said, but as your mother, I have a job to do. I would be doing you a disservice if I show you at 16, or I make you believe at 16 that you only have to do the things that you want to do. You only have to do the things that you like to do. Do you understand how many days I wake up and I get up doing things? These ain't things I want to do. Every place that I show up in, every room that I show up in, every task that I do, these are not things that I want to do, but these are things that have to be done. And so, as your mother, my job is to get you to understand that life is not always going to be, all buttoned up and beautiful. It's not going to always be just the things that you want to do when you want to do them, but you still have a duty to show up. Kyla says, I'm in the perimenopause stage and I don't think my hubby get girl. I don't think my hubby gets it. So maybe if men could hear that segment, maybe he could get a better understanding. Also, that also rolls in the mental health because I'm not always in the right headspace. And Kyla, let me tell you something. I don't believe that you're the only one. In fact, I know that you're not the only one. And so many times, the reason why we're not in the right headspace is because we are not allowing ourselves to be in the wrong headspace. And what I mean by that is because we're under this notion that we always got to be strong, we always got to be present, we always got to do everything. Nobody, I don't care how good you are, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how intelligent you are, I don't care how rich you are, how many resources you have. Nobody was built to do it all the time by themselves. Nobody was. And so that again pours into why I want to do this podcast. Again, I'm an empowerment specialist. I educate and empower, but this will be totally different than what I do through my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday podcast, where I'm giving you guys things that's solely about personal growth, right? And on Tuesdays, we deal with personal growth. So it's, whether you're talking about self-care, self-love, self-awareness, what's the other self? It's another one, y'all. Self-esteem. So like we deal with when we're talking about when we're talking about personal growth, we're looking only at ourselves, and that's it. How things deal with us so that we can become better. Wednesday, I give words of wisdom, and then Thursdays we do professional development. So that is the educated and empowered podcast. And again, you can only get access to that if you're watching me on Facebook. You have to go to my Educated and Empowered business page. Like that page, because I only go live from there about this stuff, right? But with this podcast, again, I wanted to do something specifically for the women because I get it. Because I am a woman, because I am married, I am a mother, I am in ministry, an entrepreneur. I dealt with a lot of mental health issues, whether you're talking about depression, anxiety, like so many different things I've had to deal with. I am a stroke survivor. Like when you go through stuff, I believe that maybe not everybody feels like they are called to conquer and then go back to share. But for me, I know that I'm called to do that. Like, I know that one of the reasons why I'm able to go through stuff and grow through stuff is so that I can then come back and share the lessons that I've learned. Because one of the biggest things that happened for me was in going through whatever it was, feeling like I was alone, feeling like nobody understood me, feeling like, it was something wrong with me because I was going through these things. Those all were contributing factors for making whatever it was worse. So for me, it's like I want to have that microphone to like say loudly, first of all, sis, get your sis in the room. Let's talk about this. Let's have some real conversations. Let's understand that you're not the first woman to go through perimenopause. If we talking about Kyla, let's talk about you're not the first woman to be stressed out. Let's talk about you're not the first woman to be depressed. You're not the first one to feel suicidal. You're not the first one to want to give up. You're not the first one to want to be overwhelmed. So let's start there. So allow yourself to breathe, because you're not the only one. And why does that matter? Because when you feel like you're the only one, then you feel like, oh, I'm going to let everybody down because I can't believe I'm going through this. I don't want to let my parents down. I don't want to let my spouse down. I don't want to let my kids down. I don't want to let the coworkers down. Because we have this, like, I want to say baby Jesus mentality, like it's our job to wear the capes all the time to save everybody. Then the moments when it comes to our realization that either we can't or we don't feel like it, then we make ourselves feel guilty. We're going to stop that, y'all. Listen, 2025 is right around the corner. We're going to stop that. We're going to stop making ourselves feel guilty because we human. I'm not saying that we're making excuses, but no, we're going to go into the new year with realistic expectations. We're going into the new year understanding that we're human just like everybody else. We're going into the new year understanding that, hey, as we get older, guess what? We don't show up the same. And can I tell you something? It ain't purpose for you too. You ain't gonna be able to do the same thing at 44 that you did at 24. And you shouldn't even be expecting yourself to. Do that mean I'm telling you let yourself go physically? Am I telling you not to take the best care of yourself? Absolutely not. But what I am saying is make sure you have realistic expectations. Your body was different then. If you're a mother, the way that you show, and I don't care what the age is, once you have children, your body don't look the same, feel the same, act the same that it did prior to you having children. So stop beating yourself up. See, these are conversations that we normally don't really have, right? Like maybe certain families have them. My family didn't have it. By the time I was married and started having children, guess what? My mother was gone. My grandmother was gone. So the women who probably would have given me that information was gone. So I'm trying to figure these things out on myself. Trial and error, making a whole lot of mistakes, getting a whole lot of things wrong, feeling a whole lot, of extra pressure, anxiety, all of this stuff. My point is, I don't want no other women to feel that way. So since we are coming to the podcast and talk about all the quote unquote hard stuff, all the taboo stuff, it's not going to be taboo no more. Because guess what? The only reason why it's taboo is because we ain't talking about it. If we start talking about it, then that normalizes it. And once it's normalized, then it's okay. Because if you guys I am about to be 45. If you're at least in your 40s, think about how far society has come as we talk about mental health. Think about in the 90s. Think about even just 20 years ago. It was not okay to show up talking about I'm not okay. It wasn't societally accepted, whether it should have been or not. It was not. It was, you didn't have no mental health days at your job. The schools were not giving the children mental health days because they understood the importance of mental. No, what happened? A whole lot of people ended up hurting themselves. A whole lot of people, like, because the reason why change happens is typically reactive. It's typically this led to this. And once a lot of this happens, then now we want to try to figure out what we can do to get ahead of it, right? So now we are in a place where the world understands, and not just for women, everybody. So understand, I ain't saying that we're better than our male counterparts, okay? Like, men also need mental health days, but I'm not a man. I can tell men, but they might not believe me. I tell y'all, because I am one of you. I go through the same things that you go through. For those that might be listening that's younger than me, I done already been there. For those that's older than me, then guess what? You come to the microphone. You can share your experiences. Like, this is to normalize the concept of sisterhood. This is to let you all know. And again, I do the same thing inside of my I'm Glad to Be a Woman organization, but this is just a little bit different because, like, think about my organizations like the resting spot. So, like, you go, you do your own thing all day long. But if you just need that ear, you can come in, you can check in, you can talk, and somebody will be there to receive you. But this podcast is more of a proactive situation. Every Monday, boom, this is what we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna bring, so you can bring your questions to the podcast, you can bring your comments, bring your girlfriends to the podcast, right? Because we got to get 2025 again. I say it's right around the corner. I'm not waiting till January to do the next show. This show, I just want to again kind of introduce the Total Woman Experience. And I want y'all to be ready for it. I want y'all to be looking at the fact that, look, like Kyla said earlier, she's like, I want to be able to share. I want to be able to hear. I want to be able to have a place in a space, and this podcast is for you. This is your podcast to know that, hey, somebody gets me. Somebody is going to discuss the stuff that either I'm afraid, ashamed, or embarrassed to talk about. Ain't nothing off limits. When we're talking about relationships, again, it's not just going to be for wives, right? We'll talk about relationships from a single perspective. And that's the other reason why I'm saying that I think that I do want to, like, bring in either a co-host or a guest host or something. And maybe not every week and every show, but certain shows, absolutely. So I want y'all to hit me in the inbox, whether you on Noon Vibe, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Hit me in the inbox and tell me what's some topics that you want to talk about. What do you want to hear women talk about as it pertains to relationships? Hit me in the inbox when we're talking about motherhood. What's some things you want to talk about with your kids? Because if we are mothers, we've been through it. So if you're a new mother, I have a daughter. I'm about to be a grandmother for the first time. My oldest daughter is going to be having a baby in a few months. And so there are a lot of things that she's going through now, a lot of questions that she's asking me, like, Mama, why is this normal? Why is nobody doing this? Da-da-da. And the point that I'm making is, I openly share with her because, again, I feel like the worst thing you can do to a person is make them feel like they are alone, that what they're going through, that, like, they did something wrong to be there. Like, this is an open share. When I had my first daughter, I was 22. She's now 22. When I had her, again, my mother had just died 2.5 months before I had my daughter. So first of all, I didn't even really have the ability to be excited or happy about my pregnancy because prior to my mom passing, I was her caregiver. So the first 2 trimesters of my pregnancy, I was more so caring for my mother. So I wasn't even thinking about the fact that I was pregnant. It wasn't again, this whole gender reveal thing, that's relatively new. Wasn't none of that going on. It was like me all focused on my mom. My mother passed August 18th. My daughter was born November 2nd. So it was like, my mama gone. I can't even really focus on that because now I got this baby coming, right? And so you're trying to figure out how to transition from one place to another place. But the point that I'm making is, I ultimately ended up having to have a C-section with her. I didn't know anything about C-sections in my family. And again, I say I grew up in a time and a place and space where it was kids were not around. They were not allowed to be quote unquote in grown folks' business. So when I would like with my grandmother and my aunts and stuff, all of them were in the adult room, right? And me and my cousins, we were either outside. If we were allowed to come in the house, we definitely weren't in the same room that the grown-ups were in. So I didn't know anything about what a C-section was. I didn't know, and I was terrified because I thought that I had done something wrong. Like, why is it? Because I get the concept of having a baby. I understand you're supposed to be able to push them out. That's what you're told about. Like, I knew about natural childbirth, but I didn't know anything about a C-section. So you got, again, somebody who is a perfectionist, an overachiever. And so now this thing is beyond my control. It ain't got nothing to do with me. But I was terrified, is the point that I'm making. But I'll never, again, I don't remember the nurse's name, but I will never forget her words. She was like, baby, let me tell you something. She said, it does not matter how that baby gets here, just as long as you take care of her once she does, right? And so that was what stayed with me. Why? Because, or why did that help? Because all four of my girls were C-sections. So it was like getting through Autumn, my first daughter, getting through her and being able to receive and process the fact that I didn't do anything wrong. Process the fact that sometimes your body it just doesn't work with you. It doesn't, it ain't got nothing to do with you didn't eat right or you did this wrong. And no, your body kind of, and they sound crazy, but your body has a mind of its own. Being able to receive that allowed me to go through my other pregnancies like without being mentally distraught, at least not in that area, because I understood this aspect of it. So again, my point when we're talking about motherhood, if it's new mamas, it might be some things that y'all have questions about. If you got toddlers, tweens, teens, adults, foster kids. When I say, baby, if I ain't raised all types of kids, I know people who have. We're not doing this whole going through by ourselves anymore. We're not doing that. We're not doing the whole I'm better than you because I got a different degree or a better degree or I make more money. We don't care. Like, if you're not going to come to the room to share, this podcast isn't for you. Okay. Like, generically, I do want to open it up for all women because I don't care what you're going through because we all go through stuff. But if you're the person that feels like you got the ability to look down on somebody, this podcast ain't for you, right? If you're the person that thinks that you're better than somebody, because let me tell you something, I probably got more titles than the average person. But when you're talking to other people, one of the greatest lessons that I learned is that you have to find a way to relate to folks. And when you're talking at them instead of talking to them, you're going to lose them in a heartbeat. And so for me, my goal again is to educate and empower. Who better to educate than my girls, my women, my ladies? Who better to educate? We talking about the women who are like, even if you're in a traditional relationship and even if your significant other is going to work to make the money, let me tell you what I know. You the one that's maintaining that household. So what you think and how you feel, that matters. We talking to my women who are raising the next generation of fill in the blank. So how you feel when you raising your children, it matters. Because how else can you put good energy in them if you ain't got no good energy? If you depleted, depressed, you don't feel like getting out the bed, how you gonna pour into them? You can't. We done with that. If you are in ministry, because oh, let me tell you what I know about being a pastor's wife. Oh, baby, it's a lot. So whether you are in church ministry, you are a first lady, you're an evangelist, a prophet, I wear all the hats. Okay, we gonna talk about how it is to, live that life and still have this social accountability. Because a lot of times when you are, titled, you have a position in the church, people put you on this pedestal that many times you need asked to be on, and you trying to figure out how to balance that life with your regular life. We're going to talk about it. Again, mental health. It's okay to come here and talk about you stressed. It's okay to understand that somebody's going to talk about frustrations, mental health, overload, menopause, all of those things that kind of take us away from being our best selves. We're talking about it. And me time, hold on, let me tell you. Me time ain't just about, it's not going to just be about talking about if you stressed and how to not be stressed. No, what are you doing for you? Baby, we done figured out what you're doing for the significant others, for the kids, for your parents, for your co-workers, for your church people. What you doing for you? So I don't care what your financial situation look like. We're gonna come up with some great free ideas, some frugal ideas, and then if you got some extra coin ideas, we're gonna do some of those things, talk about some of those things. And that's why I say I believe I'm gonna try to bring some other sisters on, like, because maybe we can get some people that's, like the budget needs the people or the travel advisor people, like some people that can tell you some great places to go. Because again, she, me, her, I travel too, but again, I want to make sure that this is a well-rounded experience for my ladies, because I love y'all. And again, I want you guys to feel free to be here, to come here. I'm going to be here every single Monday, 7:30 ish. So that's on. Follow me if y'all not already following me, so that way you can get notified when I do go live. But tell your girls, tell your sisters, tell your daughters, tell your mamas, tell your aunties, your cousins, tell all of them we got something that's just for us, right? We got somebody that gets us. And not only do she get us, but she's going to allow us to be part of it too. Everybody ain't doing that. But again, for me, I have always lived by the mantra that we are better together. So ain't nothing different with that. But I love y'all. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all for tuning in. And like I say, if you either have suggestions for show ideas, put in my inbox. If you would like to be a guest on the show, put in my inbox. If you want to be a sponsor for the show, put in my inbox, because that's the great thing about being part of something when it's on the ground level. It's the best time to jump in. If you are not already following me, I actually also have a TikTok page. My name is Tennille, right? So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. My name is Tennille. So I got a page that's just for me and what we do with that. But then there's also the business, educated and empowered. But no matter how you interact with me, baby, girl, let me tell you, you're going to leave educated and empowered no matter what you do, officially, unofficially. Whether you want to go to the business side and get your courses and your coaching sessions and your consultations and webinars and all that type of stuff, or unofficially, you want to just listen to me and you want to, just be edified. However you want to do it, whatever your pace is, I'm here for all of it. So thank you guys so much. And again, don't forget, I will be live at 5 tomorrow. It will be 5 o'clock tomorrow. I will be coming live. We're talking about personal growth. We're finishing up the year. I can't believe that it's already December. We just got about, today is what, the 20, what's today? The second or third? The second. So we got 23 days till Christmas. 23. And then 30 to the, I ain't gonna be pushing this. I ain't pushing this shit by fast. I'm finna enjoy the rest of this time, but I enjoy all of you. And if you guys, if you ladies enjoyed what you heard and you're on a visual platform, please like and share and tag somebody that you believe would benefit from this broadcast. I love you guys so much. Until next time, you all stay inspired.